moment in its economic history, and it's all because of artificial intelligence. Now, the country's top policy think tank, Niti Aayog, just released these new reports, and they paint a picture of a future that is, well, both incredibly exciting and, frankly, a little terrifying. Okay, let's dive right into this. And this, right here, is the big question on everyone's mind. Is AI this unstoppable force that's going to automate millions of people right out of their jobs? Or is it going to be this amazing engine for new opportunities, creating jobs we can't even dream of yet? Well, as it turns out, the answer is a bit of both. And here's the heart of India's AI dilemma. On one side of the coin, you have the very real threat that AI could completely upend a huge number of existing formal jobs. But on the other side, you've got this once-in-a-generation chance to use that same technology to bring a massive informal workforce. We're talking street vendors, gig workers, small farmers, into the formal economy. It's a true double-edged sword. Now, before we can really get into the exciting solutions, we first have to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of the challenge. And believe me, the reports are very clear that underestimating this threat would be a huge, huge mistake. You know what's happening here is a textbook case of an economic theory called creative destruction, an idea so powerful it's even been part of a Nobel Prize. The concept is pretty simple. When a powerful new technology like AI comes along, it's incredibly creative, right? It spurs all this new growth and innovation. But it's also inherently destructive because old jobs and sometimes entire industries just can't compete anymore, and they fade away. And the stakes here could not be higher. I mean, this isn't just some abstract theory. The report doesn't pull any punches. It says, and I'm quoting here, that a business-as-usual approach is just not going to cut it. It risks, and I quote, irreversible job losses and massive societal disruption. And look, this threat isn't some far-off sci-fi concept. It's here, it's now, and we can actually measure it. The reports break down the risks into two big buckets, starting with the immediate, on-the-ground operational challenges. Okay, so get ready for this headline. Number 1, by 2030, which is just around the corner, over 60% of all formal jobs in India are at high risk of being automated. This is a direct threat to the huge IT and business process outsourcing sectors that have really been the engines of India's growth for decades. Now, at the very same time, India is fighting a serious brain drain. This number, negative 1.55, shows the net talent migration for AI professionals. So what does that mean? It means for every top-tier AI expert coming into India, more are leaving. The country is losing the very people it needs the most to navigate this whole transition. Okay, so those are the immediate fires. But if you dig a little deeper, the reports point to these underlying systemic problems that are holding India back. These are the structural risks, and you could argue they're even tougher to fix. Just take a look at this chart. It tells a pretty sobering story about innovation. See, back in 2010, India had a pretty decent share of granted AI patents globally, somewhere between 8 and 10%. But fast forward to 2023, and that number has cratered to less than 5%. And that innovation gap? Well, it leads directly to this problem. Right now, the supply of qualified AI talent in India only meets about half of the current demand. That is a massive gap. And with the demand for AI skills just exploding, it's only going to get wider. So why is this happening? Well, the reports point to some pretty fundamental gaps in the system. School and university programs are often way behind the curve. Unlike in places like China or Russia, access to really good computer science education isn't universal. You've got very low digital literacy among the informal workforce, and even the government's digital tools are often just too complicated for a lot of people to use effectively. Okay, that was a lot of doom and gloom, I know. But here's the good news. The reports don't just sound the alarm and walk away. They actually lay out a very specific, incredibly ambitious, two-part solution that's designed to tackle these problems head-on. The whole strategy is built on two main pillars. First, you've got the National AI Talent Mission, which is aimed right at the formal workforce. And second, there's Mission Digital Shram Setu. And Shram Setu literally means labor bridge, which is a perfect name, and that's focused on the huge informal workforce we talked about. All right, let's break that first one down. The National AI Talent Mission is really about one big goal, turning India into an absolute global powerhouse for AI talent. So what are they actually gonna do? Well, it's a whole package. It starts with making AI literacy a fundamental skill for everyone, right from a young age in school. The plan is to reverse that brain drain and make India a magnet for top talent from around the world,
even proposing a special AI talent visa. And maybe most important of all, it calls for a huge national engine to reskill and upskill millions of professionals who are already in the workforce.
Okay, that sounds pretty great for the tech folks and the college grads, but what about the hundreds of millions of people who work outside of that system? This is where that second mission comes in, and honestly, this part is pretty revolutionary. See, Mission Digital Shram C2 is all about using cutting-edge tech like AI and blockchain, that secure digital ledger, not to replace these workers, but to empower them. The whole idea is to give them digital skills, create verifiable work histories that they can own, and finally bring them into the formal financial system, giving them access to things like credit, insurance, and social security. So let's just put this all together, side by side, so it's super clear. You have one mission that's laser-focused on creating elite AI leaders who can compete on the world stage. And then you have another mission that's all about mass empowerment from the ground up. It's a really holistic way of looking at a very complex national challenge.
So, what does this all mean? It means India is standing at a massive crossroads. The path it chooses to take right now in the next few years is going to define its economic future for generations to come.
This timeline really puts the urgency into perspective, doesn't it? You can see the decline from a much stronger position back in 2010 to where we are today. The reports frame right now, this moment, as a truly critical juncture. The decisions made in the next year or two will decide whether 2030 brings the chaos of mass disruption or a brand new era of growth led by technology. Look, if there's one single thing to take away from all this analysis, it's this. The threat isn't some hypothetical maybe, it's real. And as the report makes painfully clear, doing nothing could lead to irreversible damage. And that brings us to the big, multi-billion-dollar question, right? The plan is there, it's ambitious, the vision is clear, but execution is everything. Can India actually pull this off? Can it harness these missions to not only survive the AI revolution, but to turn what looks like its greatest threat into its greatest economic triumph? Well, only time will tell.